All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the first Sessionwire Live weekly webinar series where I'll be taking you through a brief demonstration of the Sessionwire application in context alongside different DAWs each week. And this week we're starting with, well, the ubiquitous DAW Pro Tools, the industry standard. Whether you use Pro Tools or not, I'm sure you'll find something useful in this webinar. It's meant to give you an idea of how the app works alongside any DAW. Really, the workflows and applications are the same regardless of which software you're using alongside Sessionwire. So without further ado, we will jump in. I've got my notes here. Anybody out there, give me a thumbs up if you can hear everything in the comments. Hi, Robin. Robin, the founder and CTO of Sessionwire, is in the comments in YouTube. If anybody has any questions, you can pop them in there for Robin. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer. Neil Eckstein, hey, how are you? It's been a while. We should touch base. I think that Sean is in the comments here as well. Let me just pull this up here. Got my whole panel of machines here. Yes, I should join you for a stream one of these days. Yeah, we should chat about that. This is a demo. It's probably not the most exciting, but we will be starting other series about how to actually get into the workflows of Sessionwire. So that would be a good one. So we'll chat about that. Okay, so for anybody who hasn't had a look at, oh, thumbs up everywhere. Wow, super cool lighting. Oh, thanks, Kevin. Yes, we have a video coming out about that sometime in the next couple of weeks for anybody that is interested. The lighting here, I have 2 panel lights from Amazon, very cheap, and Home Hardware, Home Depot twinkly lights in the background. Well, maybe we'll see if we can put some comments, some notes in the description of the video for after if anybody's really interested. Diving in here, we're going to jump into the Sessionwire application. For anybody who's not familiar with Sessionwire, is interested in getting into remote collaboration, this webinar is meant to give you an overview of how Sessionwire works. And a lot of people don't realize that, you know, we have a website, we have a web app. You can build a network of people that you connect with on the web. However, the main focal point of Sessionwire at this moment is the Sessionwire app. Now let me bring this up. So this right here is the Sessionwire application. I'm going to make this bigger. This is an application that runs on both macOS and Windows. macOS High Sierra and higher, and Windows 10 and higher. It functions the same on either operating system. For those who are familiar with both operating systems, macOS is a little bit easier to work with when it comes to audio, routing audio in and out of applications. It's a little bit more flexible. Windows doesn't quite have that flexibility. So I stream from Mac OS all the time because it's very easy for me to set up these live streams. But the principles are the same. Pro Tools works the same in either operating system. I'm sure we're going to do just fine here. So this is the application. Very simple. We have over here a local panel. This is where your video will show up on your local machine. The right-hand side is the remote panel, and in that panel, when you're not connected to somebody, your list of contacts will show up. Now, I have one contact, Dan Smith. It's actually my laptop over there, my fake test user. So we're going to call Dan in a minute, and we're going to test out some features. But before we get there, the spiel that I give everybody when onboarding them to Sessionwire is this. Sessionwire functions much like any video communication software, except it has an extra data stream, let's call it. So Sessionwire has 3 data streams. The first one we use for verbal communication. Talkback audio is what we call it. And you can see this meter here, this Talkback meter, is already bouncing. I'm getting signal into my Talkback stream, which we'll talk about in a second. So this Talkback stream has echo suppression and noise cancellation on it, just like any other video communication software, so you can talk to whoever you're connected with over your loudspeakers. You can blast their voice out, have a microphone open, and you won't get any of that delayed slapback feedback issues that you might get with an unprocessed audio stream. Now, that is to say that if you have a really, really bad Wi-Fi connection or internet connection and there's really like a lot of latency in your connection, that echo suppression and noise cancellation just might not be able to combat that. But if you're connected, any modern kind of Wi-Fi, Ethernet cable, it will work just fine. So this Talkback stream, if we mouse over the local panel of the app, we see 4 buttons pop up. And the first button is a microphone, and it corresponds to this Talkback audio stream. So if I click this drop-down button, I get a list of all of the audio devices on my machine and a choice for a microphone and for a speaker. And this stream, we're going to set up exactly like we would set up any video communication software. You select a microphone that you know will pick up your voice immediately. In my case, I have an audio interface with my microphone plugged into channel 1, but I could just as well have chosen a webcam microphone. Now, I have one of these that I use sometimes. I'll try to pull this out without ruining my cables here. I have one of these Logitech C920 webcams. These work perfectly for what this audio stream is for. It has a built-in microphone. It picks up your voice pretty well. It has a camera in it, obviously, that you can use for Sessionwire. It's a very simple plug-and-play option. I could very well have chosen the C920 as my Talkback microphone. However, because I have this microphone plugged into channel 1 of my audio interface, I can also use that as my Talkback microphone. Any other channel but channel 1 or 2, Sessionwire won't pick it up. Just like any other device or any other piece of software on your computer, those software applications only pick up channels 1 and 2 unless they explicitly give you the option to pick other channels. They'll pick up channels 1 and 2 of a stereo device. So channel 1, my microphone goes in. The Talkback stream is mono, so my signal is showing up here already. The Talkback speaker I would set up just like I would set up any other video communication software by choosing something that I know I'll be able to hear audio out of. And again, that's my audio interface. So if I was to connect with somebody on Sessionwire, I would hear their voice come straight out of my audio interface. Boom, easy. Again, could just as well have chosen internal speakers. I would hear it out of my computer. I could choose any other kind of driver that I have to route audio in my system. Fine, but easiest way, set up the 2 choices so that they're on devices that you know will work to pick up your voice and for you to hear voices coming at you. Okay, so there we go. You'll notice while we're in here that there are options for Sessionwire Talkback Send plugin and Talkback Receive plugin. Those are 2 plugins that we've developed to route Talkback audio in and out of a DAW to the Sessionwire application and back. Those plugins only need to be used if you are unable to use a webcam like this with a built-in microphone and you need to route a Talkback microphone into your DAW into a different channel on your interface, like channel 3 and above, and you need to route that into Sessionwire. That's one use case for that Sessionwire Talkback Send plugin, which we'll get into in Pro Tools in a second. Or you're using a system that locks you out of the device that you want to hear audio coming out of, like Pro Tools HDX system. So if you have Pro Tools open on a Pro Tools HDX system, the Avid drivers will not show up in this list of devices. And that's because Avid has locked Pro Tools to that hardware. So again, set up this Talkback stream just like you would any video communication software so that you can immediately connect to somebody and speak to them and see them, just like this. Side note, you do not need to be paying for a Sessionwire subscription in order to connect to somebody and see them and be seen and speak to them and be spoken to through the Talkback stream. That is free. That's on our Sessionwire creator plan. I'm on the artist plan. It's the updated plan because I work at Sessionwire. But if you're on the creator plan, you can connect to somebody and speak to them just like this. Okay. The next stream number 2 out of the 3 is the video stream, which you can see here. I've chosen my camera. It's actually a Sony Alpha 6100 mirrorless camera. It's, kind of a intro to mid-level mirrorless handheld camera, shoots in 4K. I've got it connected to a USB capture card. That's what I've got chosen as my webcam. But again, you could very well use this little Logitech C920. You can use an app called Epic Cam, which allows you to use your phone as a wireless webcam, which is pretty cool. I've also got OBS virtual camera. You can do some camera mixing in OBS and bring that stream into Sessionwire if you want. Basically, it'll pick up any video driver that's available to your system, and you can choose it in that stream. The next button over, it's not anything to do with one of the streams, but it's for screen sharing, just like any video communication software. You can share your screen. And the last button is the third and most important stream in the Sessionwire application. It is the high-quality audio stream, and that is how we will be getting our DAW audio from our DAW into Sessionwire and across the bridge to whoever we're connected to, and vice versa. Now, this data stream will default to these settings for everybody. So the HQ audio source, that is the source of the HQ audio on your system, will be the Sessionwire Send plugin, which will allow you to bring audio out of your DAW into the Sessionwire app. And we'll get to that in a second in Pro Tools. And the Sessionwire HQ Audio Destination, that's the destination of the audio coming from the Sessionwire app that somebody's streaming to you. Where is it going to go? It's going to go straight to your system default output, which, again, in my case, is my Antelope audio interface. So if somebody were to stream me their audio from the DAW, as long as they have it set up correctly, it would go straight to my audio interface out my speakers. No need to bring it into a DAW. You don't have to do that unless you're planning on recording somebody remotely, which we will also get into shortly in Pro Tools. But in that case, we start running into the issue of latency over the internet. So we recommend a couple of workflows that kind of work around that. And again, we'll get into that in Pro Tools. So there you have it. Those are the three data streams. That's the local side of the Sessionwire application. If we wander over to the remote side here, the community tab shows you, basically it shows you your connection list, but it also allows you to search the community for anybody. So if I wanted to search for Robin, our CTO, we've got a bunch of test accounts. We've got a ton of other users in there. So you can search for somebody by their display name and send them a connection request, which they have to accept, and then they'll appear in your connections list. The connections tab, again, it just kind of reiterates your existing connections. Then you can search your existing connections. So I only have one, so I can find Dan. And the next tab over allows you to invite somebody via email address. So if you were to enter somebody's email address here, it would send them an email saying somebody's inviting you to a session in Sessionwire. If that person hasn't signed up for Sessionwire yet, they will be prompted to sign up for Sessionwire. And as soon as they're signed up, that connection request will be accepted. They don't have to accept it. It'll just go through and you'll appear on each other's connections list. So pretty handy little feature there. Up in the top right-hand corner, we have a Refresh Audio I/O button. This is important if you find that you're seeing signal on the remote meters, which we will see in a second, but you're not hearing it for some reason, and you have everything set up correctly, or you're streaming something through the plugin and it's not showing up in your HQ audio meter, even though you have everything set up correctly. Hitting this button will reconnect all of the drivers to your selections in the Sessionwire app. Most often, if we have Sessionwire open and we're connected to somebody and streaming audio back and forth, we close our DAW session and open a new one. Especially on a Mac, Apple Core Audio will disconnect all of these drivers because sample rate reset, buffer reset, all of that kind of stuff. Core Audio disconnects these drivers. All we have to do is hit this button really quick and it reselects all of the selections you've made in these drop-down menus for you. So click that button, it reconnects all the drivers. You should be, good to go. The next button over here is a connections diagnostic, let's say, network diagnostics, sorry. So when you're connected to somebody, it will say you're connected to the network. Your connection has 4 green dots. The server is connected, which, by the way, we're not actually streaming any video or audio through a server. We just use the server to establish calls. And after that point, it's a peer-to-peer call. There's nothing in between you and whoever you're connected with in the app. It's very secure. Side note there. And data will be connected once that call has connected properly. All of these statistics here will show you the network round trip time for the HQ audio, the talkback, and it will show packet loss and jitter for each stream as well. So if you're finding that you're having some errors pop up in the top of this app right here, head into this little drop down and see if any of these values are popping up into the red. If they're going above these thresholds, that means that your network connection is not stable. And if you are not connected by Ethernet, try connecting to the internet via Ethernet and see if that stabilizes your connection, which we recommend highly. Connect via Ethernet, turn the Wi-Fi off. We're working with Pro Audio. We want the best possible connection so that we don't get audio dropouts and that kind of thing. So be sure to check this out if you're having, issues in your call. Next button over is the notification bell icon. I can see that I had sent a connection request to Dan Smith, my fake user on this computer. I'd accepted it, and I declined a call earlier, so I can get rid of these notifications. Any connection requests that come into you, any missed calls, they'll show up under here. It'll flash red. This button here, this is the settings menu. In here, we'll find some cool little features. We can turn our meters on and off if they're distracting. I leave them on all the time because it's a good troubleshooting tool. If you're seeing the meters bounce, but you're not hearing any audio coming from your remote partner or vice versa, there's something wrong locally on your machine. So, good troubleshooting tool. Talkback auto mute. We can choose to mute either our local microphone, the remote audio coming through the Talkback stream, or both when we hit play in our DAW, if we have one of the plugins in the DAW, which I'll demonstrate coming up. But this is incredibly handy. So if we're blasting music out of our monitors, I'm not wearing headphones. As soon as I hit play in my DAW, it shuts off this microphone and the audio coming to me from the other side, and all we both hear is my DAW audio across the connection. As soon as I hit stop, it opens up the Talkback stream again, and we can continue conversing. Very handy. I see I have a question in here. Cosmo says, will this demo be available on YouTube for viewing at a different time? Yes, 100%. We're going to make this available on YouTube. It'll be available on our Facebook page, Sessionwire. It'll be available in our Facebook users group. If you look up Sessionwire users group on Facebook, you can join that, ask questions, speak to other people about remote collaboration, find people to work with. So if you haven't headed that way yet, head over there, give us a like, give us a follow. We'll be sure to say hello when you join. It's always fun seeing new users join. So moving down the menu here, we have our video quality. So because I am a paid user, I get HD video. Standard, like it says, is standard video quality. And low, if you are working on an older computer and you're finding that, things are lagging a little bit, try bumping your video quality down to low. Screen sharing frame rate, same thing. I leave mine at 30 because I like high quality screen sharing. I can share my screen and have somebody follow along what's happening in my DAW. And it doesn't feel jerky. But again, if you're finding that performance is suffering, knock the frame rate down a little bit. Mirror local video. This was a huge feature request not too long ago. Small thing. You can flip your local video. Not much more to say about that, really. If you wanted to see what your CPU usage is, you can turn on and off the CPU usage. I think you can see it right way up in the top right-hand corner of my screen. It says 6%. I can turn it on and off. Handy if you are concerned that Sessionwire is taking up some of your resources. Sign out, quit, self-explanatory. Over to the community tab. These links have to do with our community.sessionwire.com website. They will take you to this will actually check for an update. So if we click this, it'll say, no, you don't need the newest version, or yes, there's a new version available, go download it. This will take you to your profile. This will take you to the account section where you can modify your subscriptions. Same thing with the billing. It's a different section of the My Account section. Our support website, support.sessionwire.com, hosts a lot of articles to do with Sessionwire, working in a DAW. I'm in the middle of updating all of that, so in the coming weeks, I'm hoping to have that refreshed and a little bit more organized. Feature requests. We want to make Sessionwire what you want. So if you have a feature request, click this button, fill out the form, send us your feature request, anything you want. We have anything from I want to use a foot pedal to unmute the Talkback to I want to stream 100 channels across Sessionwire to I want to host a concert with 10,000 people on Sessionwire. So anything you want, put it in there. We put it in our giant list of feature requests, and we prioritize it based on basically whatever people want the most. So get in there. We want to hear from you. Bug reports, same thing. There are bugs. They come up. Some of them are edge cases. Either way, if you run into an issue with Sessionwire, click the bug report button, send in a bug report. I'll be sure to follow up with you almost immediately. If we can do something to help you out, great. If it's something that we can fix, we'll fix it. We just want to hear from you. Either way, feature request, bug report. If you want to say hi, again, visit the Sessionwire users group or our Facebook page. Drop us a line. We are around. Okay, so anybody have any questions so far? I see Kevin. Good to see you. Or sorry, Kelvin. Yep. Good to see you. Joey. Joey's a friend in town here. Great drummer. Cosmo, you're welcome. Deanna Wheeler, awesome. Buzz. I'm going to check a couple other streams here. Looking good. Goats are in the house. Yes. I think that's referring to a little project that some of our Sessionwire staff are working on here with another company. So keep an eye out for the goats if you know what those are. If you're just joining, my name is Brendan Lyons. I work at Sessionwire. Wear many hats. All of us wear many hats. We're a small team, and we're just thrilled to be able to provide a remote collaboration tool to anybody that needs it, regardless of whether you're in music or post-production or you're a podcaster. We're here for you. What's the oldest macOS that Sessionwire will work with? macOS High Sierra at the moment, and that may be changing again. It all depends basically on Apple and how fast they keep pushing out new operating systems. Everybody knows that Apple likes to release new operating systems every year, essentially every other year at longest. So that's all I can say about it for now. Sorry, Kelvin. I know a lot of people, they reach out and they say, hey, I have Mac Sierra or Yosemite. Can I use Sessionwire? And unfortunately not. It's just, those operating systems are 8 or 9 versions behind now or something. Yeah. So apologies. Mac OS High Sierra for now. Rahul. Yes, Rahul. I can definitely explain that. Yes. So here we go. We're going to hop into a Sessionwire call really quick. So I'm going to call my friend Dan here. Dan's going to answer. And here we are. I'm in an active Sessionwire call. I'm going to make this bigger again. So I'm in an active Sessionwire call with somebody right now. They don't have a video. If I was to turn it on, it would just be me from the side. You don't want to see that. Once we're in this call, this is for Rahul here, anybody else that's interested, it is possible at this moment to have more than 2 people on a Sessionwire call. Crazy, right? So right now, I'm in a peer-to-peer call with somebody else. Peer-to-peer means IP address to IP address. There's no server between us. We're passing audio and video straight machine to machine. We don't have a server in between, listening or recording. There's no buffer between us either, which is important to note. So as long as you're connected by Ethernet, you'll have a great experience. Wi-Fi works as well. Just be aware that Ethernet is more stable. Okay? So we're in a call here. If I wanted to add a 3rd, 4th, 5th person to this call at this moment, I can go over to the remote panel here where we see these 5 buttons pop up now, and I can click this button right here. It says upgrade account to enable session view. This might be a bug. Robin, if you're watching, I think we have a bug. I can click that button right there, and it will create a URL that I can send to anybody in the world to join this call from a web browser. And they can see me, and I can see them, and they can hear me speak, and I can speak to them through the Talkback stream. They can also hear the DAW audio from the host. I'm the host because I called the person on the other side of the peer-to-peer call. That means I'm broadcasting my DAW audio out to the session view participants they would join at the top of this app right here if you invited them. So this is a great feature for mix reviews, or if you're doing overdubs with, a musician in your studio and you wanted to tie in a couple of record label execs, get one of them on the peer-to-peer call and add a third one in the peanut gallery. All I have to do is click a link and they're in the call listening to the overdubs that are happening, or the ADR session, voiceover session, podcast, Foley session. That's a cool use case that we can talk about in another webinar as well. So there you have it. That's Session View. Click that link. It'll generate a URL and you can send it out to whoever you'd like. Hope that answers your question, Raul. Send me an email later. Is there a max number of people that can join in? Hypothetically, no. Theoretically and in practice, yes. At the moment, Session View is a beta feature, meaning it's basically a skeleton of what it is going to be soon. We're in the process of completely rebuilding the whole thing. So at the moment, it's limited by how powerful the host computer is, because the host computer is broadcasting out my video and the peer-to-peer connections video and audio to the peanut gallery. So if we add, 3 people to the call, that's 3 people times 3 data streams being broadcast out to the peanut gallery. That's a lot of resources on the host machine. So we kind of recommend, stick around 2, 3 at the most for now. You can expect to hear some announcements about some updates in the coming weeks here. So good questions here. Raul, if I am the host, will the other users be able to speak and hear one another, or just me? They will also be able to speak and hear one another. Yes. Again, it's a beta feature, so we recommend everybody, when you're working with Session View, everybody wear headphones, because the Talkback auto mute feature it locally mutes the microphone and the speakers. It doesn't mute everybody's microphone and speakers on their machines. So the peanut gallery, they'll still be able to hear and talk to each other while you're playing audio to them. So, headphones are recommended in that situation. Robin LeBeau, coming soon, ... For anybody just joining now, Robin LeBeau is the founder and CTO of Sessionwire. He's in the YouTube stream right now. If you have questions for him, drop the questions there. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer. Speaking of, I wonder if we should do this now. Yeah, we should do this now. So the next 3 people that drop questions, either in Facebook or YouTube, I'll send you a 3-pack of 3-day session passes. Okay? Session passes are one way to purchase Sessionwire. Basically, you pay $7 US, and you get all of the artist features in Sessionwire for 3 days, 72 hours. And then it shuts off. There's no recurring subscription, none of that. It's just a code that you enter. You turn it on when you need it. It ends after 72 hours. So I'll send you a 3-pack of those. First 3 people that ask questions in either Facebook or YouTube, I'll send you a 3-pack. Moving on here, we'll just finish off with the remote side of the app while we're in a call. This is a placeholder button. There's nothing here yet. It's coming soon. This is for nonverbal communication. Great take going on the other side. You can send them an emoji and it shows up on the other side. In the future, we're going to make that customizable. You want to send the poop emoji to somebody, you can if you want. Rahul's got another question. Will the other users be able to upstream HD? No. Yeah, so not at the moment. Not at the moment. Only the host can stream their DAW audio out to the peanut gallery in Session View. The other person in the peer-to-peer call can share HD audio back and forth, but only the host can broadcast out to the peanut gallery for the moment. Like I said, big changes coming. It's all good. Okay, and we have our 3 questions here. So Raul, De Levanta, and Kelvin, you're all going to get 3 session passes. Does it work on mobile devices? The URL does. So if you sent somebody a link, they can open it on their mobile device and join the session via Session View on their mobile browser. That will work. Kellen Funkner says, what's your dog's name? I don't have a dog. Robin has a dog. And I can't remember Robin's dog's name off the top of my head. Either way, Raul, Delavanta, and Kelvin, if you wouldn't mind shooting me your email addresses, that would be great. You can find me on Facebook. You can shoot them to me, and I will get you those 3-day session passes. I'm going to write this down here. Delavanta, Kelvin, and Raul. Excellent. Moving on again here, we have another placeholder button for chat. We have a chat feature coming. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be persistent between the app and the website. You can reach out to somebody on the website before you connect with them in Sessionwire. Hey, want to collaborate on something? Can we meet in Sessionwire? Send a connection request, connect to them, begin working. It's going to be great. It's coming soon. Right here, we have a full screen button. If I click this, it will full screen only the remote side of the app. Awesome if you need to see somebody's DAW really close. And we have a picture-in-picture feature where I can pop out a remote. Oh, it's black, so you can't see it, but it pops out the remote side of the app into a little window that you can float around on your desktop, and you can minimize the big Sessionwire window. Really great. Working in a DAW, you can put the little picture-in-picture at the bottom corner. Okay. This is great. I feel like I was shooting for a half an hour, but I feel like that's a little short for some of these. We'll fine-tune it as we go. You'll have to pardon my long-windedness. Here we are in Pro Tools. I'm going to bring Sessionwire to the foreground here. We can put it always on top. Also, if you select the Sessionwire window and go up to Window and select Always on Top, the Sessionwire app will float on top of Pro Tools regardless of what you're doing. You can also, again, pop out this little picture-in-picture. Let's see if it'll work. There it is. And you can float it around and then minimize the Sessionwire app. But for now, we'll just bring Sessionwire back up here. Okay, here we are. I'm in a session. It's pretty standard. You don't have to, don't worry about modifying your session in order to use Sessionwire at the beginning anyways with this basic workflow. So what we recommend you do is that you do all of the recording on the performing side of the Sessionwire call. So if I was tracking drums for somebody, I'm going to record the drums on my side of the call, and the other person on the other side of the Sessionwire connection will listen and produce me remotely. That kind of works around the latency that is inevitably going to be between the two of us. It's just physics. It takes a certain amount of time for the signal to travel from my computer to the producer's computer. There's nothing we can do about that, regardless of what any software company tells you you can do. So in that case, all I'm wanting to do is broadcast my audio across the Sessionwire connection. So in this session, I have, a few tracks of drums here. Nothing crazy. I also have a reverb, and everything is being routed out, straight out 1 and 2. If I had some mix buses or subgroups, it's cool. You can funnel it all down to there. If you have a master fader, like I do in this session, in order to stream this entire mix, all I'm going to do is put the Sessionwire Send plugin, which is under Multi-Channel Plugin, Other, and Sessionwire Send. I'm going to insert the Sessionwire Send plugin at the end of my effects chain on my master fader. And if I hit play, I might have to reboot Sessionwire here. Let me do that. I was messing around with some things earlier, and I may have there we go. So I'm going to call Dan. And we're live. Here we go. Okay, so I'm in here. I've got my Talkback is working because it's going directly into the Sessionwire app. It's not going into Pro Tools. If I was to hit play now, we'll see signal show up in the Send plugin right here, and we'll see it show up in the HQ audio stream because I've selected the Sessionwire Send plugin as the HQ audio source in the Sessionwire app. So let's play this here. Great. So we saw signal show up in the Send plugin and in the HQ audio meter. And I don't know if you noticed, but as soon as I hit play, this Talkback button went red. It muted because I have Talkback Auto Mute Local on, which means as soon as I hit play, it's going to mute my local Talkback. And as soon as I hit stop, it'll unmute it so I can speak again. So I'll do that one more time. You'll see that red button come on, and I'll talk over top of it. You'll be able to hear my voice still because I'm broadcasting straight out through OBS, but that Talkback meter won't bounce anymore. Talking, 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 talking. Hello, hello, hello. 1, 2, 1, 2. And if I stop, my Talkback is back. Okay, we got another question here. In case anyone else is wondering, the remote software. Yes. Yes. Okay. Raul raises a great point. So, what I just spoke about and what I've just demonstrated here, this is it. This is the basic setup for Sessionwire. My side of the Sessionwire connection is set up 100% in order to speak to who I'm connected with, to hear who I'm connected with, to stream them my DAW audio from Pro Tools, and to hear their remote audio coming from me from their end. Everything in here is set up correctly. Okay? They just have to look after their side of the connection now. However, if you're working with somebody who's, an artist, they're not necessarily comfortable working in a DAW, they just want to focus on the performance, you can use remote desktop control software to engineer on their machine like it's your own and monitor the session through Sessionwire with video and the HQ audio stream. So what Raul is referring to in the Facebook comments, in his case, he's the producer and engineer. He's got an artist remotely somewhere else. He's connected to them on Sessionwire. He's just got the Sessionwire app open. He doesn't have a DAW open on his computer as the producer. The artist has the DAW open on their computer, and he's controlling it like it's his own. He's put the Sessionwire Send plugin on their master fader, which means he can hear the entire mix in that DAW through Sessionwire. That way, the artist is performing locally and recording locally. There's no issues with audio dropouts affecting the audio stream. It's all recorded remotely. And Raul can hear the artist's voice or instrument along with the 2-track or session that they're performing along with in time because it's all coming across the connection simultaneously. Make sense? Fox Run. Yeah, Neil says so. Just use just one Send plugin. Yes, exactly. That's how we recommend working. Unless, again, like I mentioned with the Talkback stream, you're locked out of streaming the incoming Sessionwire audio to your audio interface directly, in which case you'll want to use the Receive plugin to bring it in to the session. So, speaking of which, we're going to demonstrate that. I have, right now, the Sessionwire HQ destination is my audio interface, which means that when Dan, who I'm connected with, streams audio to me, it's going to go straight to my audio interface and I'll hear it. We will not see any signal show up in Pro Tools. So here's the stream. Okay. I think everybody should have been able to hear that. I believe I set the stream up properly. So we saw audio show up in this meter right here. This is the remote side of the call. This is Dan's computer. I saw a signal show up in his HQ meter, which means that he is successfully streaming it through Sessionwire. And I have my HQ audio destination set to my audio interface. So I heard it straight out of my audio interface. Perfect. Yeah, Kelvin says, yep, heard it. Excellent. So if I wanted to bring that into Pro Tools, this is where things get a little messy in terms of routing. So I'm going to show how things can get messy, and I'm going to show how to fix it. Is the remote screen control part of Sessionwire. It's still a third-party piece of software right now. We do have plans to integrate it at some point. It's still a third-party piece of software at the moment. We do offer a service alongside Sessionwire for a small cost, but it is very slick. It's meant to be very user-friendly for artists and, people that aren't comfortable with computers. So, oh, Cosmo, I'm sorry I have to leave her. Okay. Thanks for joining, Cosmo. Good to see you. But yes, third-party piece of software. Splashtop SOS is what we recommend. It's awesome. The client simply has to pass you a 9-digit code that you enter in your control app, and you're controlling their computer. It's great. Back to what we're doing here. So if I play this again, I'm seeing the signal show up in the HQ audio and I'm hearing it. I'm going to bring it into Pro Tools by creating a new stereo aux. I'm going to call this Sessionwire Receive. Oops, again. There we go. I have this Sessionwire Receive. I'm going to drag it all the way over here. And on the Sessionwire Receive channel, I'm going to insert the Sessionwire Receive plugin. Okay, here's the Sessionwire Receive plugin. I'll also just bring up the, the Send plugin because we have the real estate. There we go. So now I'm going to change in the Sessionwire app, the HQ Audio destination, I'm going to change it to Sessionwire Receive plugin, which will send the incoming audio to the app to the Receive plugin. Therefore, it will come into my Pro Tools session down this channel strip and head out my output 1 and 2. And we'll see a problem as soon as I do that. So if we do this. Excellent. So I heard that in my Pro Tools session. I'm pretty sure everybody should be able to hear that. It probably sounded mucky, probably sounded doubled. There's a reason for that. It came in this session on this track and headed out output 1 and 2, which is governed by this master fader that has the Sessionwire Send plugin on it. So essentially, I'm receiving it in my session and bouncing it straight back out to Dan, which is not good. That's what we call a feedback loop, essentially. So in order to kind of stop that from happening, you can either disable the Send plugin, and I'll be able to play it and hear it. So great, that solves the problem. However, if I don't want to disable the plugin and enable it and go through all of that kind of thing, what I recommend be done is instead of using a master fader, I'm going to actually use a master aux. I'm going to trade that master fader for a stereo aux. I'm going to call this, I'm just going to do all caps because why not, master. And I'm going to move all of my plugins on my master fader over to this. And I'm going to get rid of this master fader because I don't need it anymore. And all of the tracks in here, if you had subgroups, again, this will be different. You'll route your subgroups to this mix aux or this master aux. I'm going to change all of these to master. So now all of my audio in my session goes out this master aux, hits the Send plugin, goes across the bridge. Anything coming into me, into the session from the Receive plugin, goes straight out output 1 and 2 and does not touch this Send plugin anymore. So let's try this out. I'm going to play the remote audio again. Awesome. I see Kelvin. Yes, you use an all bus. I kind of do as well. I have big shout out to Brad Smith, a really amazing Juno award winning. He might have won a Juno mix engineer here in Edmonton, Alberta. Kind of taught me a little bit about his mix workflow. So I use a bunch of auxes that funnel down into, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Browerizing technique, Michael Brower's technique of mixing down to 4 subgroups that have different compressors and EQs on them. And then mine goes to a mix aux, essentially. So however you choose to do it, you route it all down to an aux. And that way you have 2 parallel streams, one for sending, one for receiving, but they don't send to each other. Okay? Now, we're going to look at recording this incoming stream right here. We're going to go track, new. I'm going to choose audio, stereo audio track. I'm going to go Sessionwire, record 1. It doesn't matter. It's just an audio track. And usually what I will do is I'll create a send. And this is totally up to you. You can do it however you want. I have a send here called, wherever it went, Sessionwire. Nope. Maybe it's not in this template here. Yikes. You know what? It doesn't matter. Bus 109, bus 110. That's what it's called now. And I'll create a pre-fader send, and I'll set the input of this audio track to that pre-fader send. 109, 110. So now if I input arm this and I mute this, it's going to come over to this track. Do this again. Which means that I can record this. Yes. Jonathan says something. V-U-N, yeah. V-U-N-R-E-N-T. Is that an abbreviation? Let me know what that means. Pardon me. So, yes, now I can record this audio. If I hit play on this machine over here, and I hit record here, I'm going to mute all of these audio tracks, this master, so we don't hear any of that, I think, and I'll disable the send plugin. So we'll record. I'm recording. If I hit play. There we go. Now I have that in my session. I'm recording it because I'm routing it from this aux with the receive plugin on it to an actual audio channel, because you can't record audio coming from a plugin on the same channel that that plugin is on in Pro Tools. You can in one other DAW, but we'll get to that another day. If I wanted to send this out to whoever's listening on the other end, I will un-input arm and unrecord arm it, and I'll change the output to master. And now it's going through my master aux that has the Sessionwire Send plugin on it. And Neil, yes, he says, to be clear, your master fader is an aux. Yes, in this workflow, I have it set up like that. Cool B3. No, it's not Kevin Williams. This is actually a group of mine from a while ago. It's a fella named Brendan Cameron. Big shout out as well. One of the workinest keyboard players in Western Canada. Lives in Edmonton here. To touch on what Neil is talking about, there is another way to do this, to set this all up that doesn't involve this master aux. You can create essentially what's called a headphone cue. So we'll do that really quick as well, just for fun. So I'm going to... Anybody have any questions before we move on from here? I know we're dwindling in viewers here. Usually these are shorter. And we'll do this. I'm going to actually go back in and I'm going to recreate this master fader. So now, and then set all of this back to, oops, yes, set all of these to output 1 and 2, and I'm going to set my master fader to output 1 and 2. So this is where we started. We have a master fader in my session. We can create a stereo aux called Sessionwire Send. And on this, I'm going to insert the Sessionwire Send plugin. And then anything that I want to send through Sessionwire, I can send it through a bus. And I, again, create this Sessionwire Send bus, and you can create a send on any channel that you want to go across the Sessionwire gap. So you create a post-fader send so they can hear the mix that you want. If you want to send every channel, select all your channels, go Option, Shift, click, track, Sessionwire Send. It'll send it all across. You just have to Option click all of these little faders or do your expanded sends, right? So this might be a little bit easier. Option click. You can send all of these things individually across. I find that's a little bit tedious when it comes to doing things like mix reviews. I'd rather just send the whole thing, put the plugin at the end of the master fader, and stream it across. So you can actually capture real time. Yes, of course you can. Is something like audio movers. I mean, you can do the same thing with audio movers, but we have a video stream. We have a file transfer system as well, which I can show you here really quickly. If we go into, oop, not that. I'm going to find my other window here. If we go into here and I find a stem that I want to transfer across, we can go in here, right-click, reveal in Finder, find the audio file, and drag it onto the other person's face, and it will transfer across the Sessionwire connection. and it'll ask them, where do you want to save it? They pick a spot to save it. They drag it into their session, which plays really well into how we prescribe working remotely. So you're doing all of the performing and the recording on the performing side of the call. So if you're collaborating with somebody, you're each performing and recording on your own session, an identical looking session, and you're passing these files back and forth. That way you never have to deal with the latency that is going to be in the call between you. It's just the amount of time it takes for signal to travel A to B. That's it, right? So record in your own session, pass the files back and forth, produce over the HQ audio stream, use the Talkback stream to communicate verbally what's going on. The auto mute will mute that for you while you're doing your take. There you have it. Again, we have lots of features coming down the road that will kind of help deal with the latency factor. And for you, Raul, working with artists who aren't comfortable with a DAW, eventually with the features we have coming, that role will flip. You won't have to remote control their computer anymore. You'll actually be able to record them directly into your DAW without them having to do anything on their side. They just open Sessionwire, plug their microphone in, and away they go. More on that in the future. This kind of concludes the basic demo of Sessionwire and Pro Tools. Of course, we have our Talkback plugins that you can use if you want. You'd use them similarly to how we'd set it up with the receive and send auxes, parallel auxes that don't send to each other. You put the Talkback plugins on their own mono auxes, route them accordingly. However, again, if it's possible, use a built-in USB webcam or a microphone plugged into channel 1 and select that as your microphone and send the Talkback stream straight out of your speaker. Okay? Easiest way to do it. That way, if you close Pro Tools, you'll still be able to speak to them, whereas if you use the Talkback plugins, as soon as you close your Pro Tools session, you lose Talkback. So there you have it. Let me check my notes to see if I'm missing anything here. I don't believe so. We've touched on everything that I wanted to get to. So I think this is where we're going to end it today. Thank you, everybody, for joining the stream. We really appreciate it. Next week, I believe, let me check my calendar. Yes, next week, we'll be doing the same thing, Sessionwire Live, a demo with Logic Pro X. So for anybody that's a Logic user, please join us next Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. PST, on our YouTube channel, on our Sessionwire Facebook page, and our Sessionwire users group on Facebook. Please go give us a like, subscribe to all of those to get notifications when we have new live videos coming out, more demonstration videos that we'll have coming out, interviews. Give us a like, give us a follow, say hello, and thanks for watching. Please join me next week.